Welcome back to the front lines of AI art exploration. This week, I'm going to try something a little different. Actually, this year, I'm going to keep trying different stuff. It's not going to take away from the content I'm making. I'm just adding more to it because, hey, how are we going to find out, how are we going to find those nuggets of gold if we don't explore a little and push our boundaries a little? All right, let's see how this goes. All right, here we are. So, here's an image. This is not AI. This is an actual photograph. This is a photograph of mine. I took it. It's up at Jenny Farm in Reading, Vermont. You can no longer photograph this farm during the fall. They've closed off public access. They've closed the roads and stuff. Too many people were showing up. It's a lot of people photograph here. In fact, movies like Funny Farm were filmed here. Well, they filmed the scene there. There were Budweiser commercials filmed the scene there. And I think a Jim Carrey movie did a scene there. Anyway, popular place, beautiful location. And let's see, I'll give you a little backstory on this. I took this photo in 2011, about a week after Hurricane Irene devastated the state of Vermont. We had had this trip planned, and then the hurricane came in and just destroyed, like, bridges were knocked out everywhere. It was really hard to cross rivers. I know, like, in this day and age, in 2011, it was because all the bridges were knocked out, and, like, it really felt, you really started to think back to the colonial times and, like, just getting across a river and, like, how complicated that can be. Anyway, we decided that we should still go, even though this catastrophe had hit. The reason being was to support the local economy, and Vermont is very near and dear to my heart. I lived up there for a while, and we wanted to make sure we weren't getting in the way, but we did want to support the local economy and, go up there. And in fact, every time I stop and photograph Jenny Farm, the owners of the farm actually sell maple syrup. They tap their own maple. It's delicious maple syrup. And we would always buy the biggest jugs, multiple jugs, to support the farm. And anyway, when we were up there, I think we were up there for about 4 days. Okay, anyway, let's get into it. So this image is called Last Light on Jenny. So I had never been to Jenny Farm before I took this photo. I had just seen pictures of it. I want to go photograph that. Typically, my workflow for sunrise photography. I like sunrise photography. Not a lot of people are out. What I do is I'll show up there at like 3, 4 in the morning, set up, try and get everything where I want it to be, and wait for the sun to come up and then photograph. The thing is at the time I was like, we're pretty close to the location. I'd like to drive by the night before when we got to Vermont. It's like 3 in the afternoon or something. No, it must have been later because 3. It was probably like 4 or 5. And I wanted to drive by just so I could scout out like where I'm going to park and just have a vague idea of what the composition's going to be. We got there and really stormy skies and everything. And in fact, it was really flat gray. And I was just doing prep work. This is going to be my composition. I like the way these hills roll, this, that, and the other thing. And this is where I'm going to put the farm and this tree, I want it right there. And, it was just kind of like really broad stroking my composition. And then I was like, I'll fire off a couple of test shots while I'm up here, set up my tripod. And while I'm there was like literally this single break in the clouds and before the sun had gone down. And as you can see, this is what you would call glancing light. Glancing light is a term, they use it in electricians and when they do interior lighting, when you have a light too close to a wall and you have imperfections in the wall, and basically the light is coming across it, and it exposes it by shadowing it. So this would be glancing light on the landscape. It's the lowest possible the sun can be, and instead of bringing out imperfections, this is bringing out the rolls and the topography of the landscape. It's also backlighting the trees really nicely, almost like right behind it. It's not coming down, it's coming right behind it. So very pleasing. This lasted for maybe 15 seconds. And I was like, okay, take pictures, snap. I really wasn't thinking much about it. After this break in the light, it was torrential downpours for the next 4 days. And I traveled all over Vermont. I was all over the place. And everything was washed out. It just didn't look good because we just had the hurricane. And we were having a good time because it's Vermont. But was not finding I wasn't finding any images. And I was bummed. I at the end of the trip, I was like, got nothing. I went up here. This was like we had just moved back from California too. And it was like my return to Vermont. And I was just kind of bummed. I was like, I didn't get anything. And I think I downloaded the pictures and just never looked at them. Or I didn't look at them for a little while because I did go back the next morning and photograph this, but the light was raining and packed in with clouds. So it's a really flat light. And, none of these trees were like really illuminated or anything like that. So I was bummed. Anyway, when I went back, when I finally got around to looking at the images and, giving myself a break, I went back and I saw these test photos. I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. How did I not see this? I was so focused on getting the sunrise photo that I did not even think about my test shots and this little, light escapade. And I shot well before this and well after it that day when I was kind of setting up my composition and everything. And now it's just, this it's won awards. It's been Vermont Magazine's Photo of the Year. It sells in a gallery. It's a limited edition in a gallery. By far my most highest priced image. And, I thought, we're all artists here. I know we're dealing with AI, but let's think about what are the aspects that make this photo successful. First, big picture, the composition of the barn and the image and the boundaries of the image. It's pleasant to, takes up about 50% of the image to the right side. It's pleasant. That alone doesn't give you a great picture. And I didn't see this at the time, so I'm not claiming to be, any crazy. I am a professional photographer, but a lot of times with photography, you realize you get something after. It's not all pre-planning and wizardry. But anyway, the composition of the barn is balanced by the light. The light gives you an interesting cross angle through the picture. It balances it out. Otherwise, it would be so heavily weighted to the right that it may not be a good image. Other things there are quite a few interesting pools of detail, just little pockets of detail in it. And let's just look at them. One, I really like this exposed area right here in the sky, this blue sky behind it. There's incredible detail, and this is typical cloud patterns of New England, but cold weather storms. They're very cauliflower-like clouds, and you can see that detail right there. The fact that the exposure on this sky, it just catches it. A half stop more, and that's blown out. Another thing people really like, these cows right here. It's got cows in it, and they're out there grazing in this. It's not cows everywhere. It's just this little that's how many cows we have. We're not a dairy farm anymore. We're a maple syrup farm. So, but there's a little detail of the cows in that field. It's not over the top. It's not everywhere. And again, that that balances with the barn, where the barn is. Other interesting things are, this tree right here, this tree, we have these vertical, because this is a very horizontal image. Now we have these vertical elements that are bright and illuminated, and, it's not perfect. This isn't peak autumn. And that's what a lot of photographers go up to New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, all that to capture. A hurricane just came through, and you can even look up at the top of the trees. The wind took the leaves away. It, made for a very early autumn, like this ruined peak that year. But, that imperfection makes this a better picture. I've had people comment like, "Oh, I love that this isn't a fall photo, but it's not in full bloom and it's not perfect." So it is Vermont to me. I get that a lot from Vermonters. Another detail that gets picked up, it's right here in the right-hand corner. There's one apple, and there was an apple tree. There's an apple tree right there. So that's kind of interesting. I don't remember if I saw that apple when I was photographing it. I think it was later that I caught it. But so basically, yeah, I mean, we can look at all of these things that come together, and you also have these lines of interest. So you have this line coming off the top of the tree line up here, and the tree line up here, and they're converging down. You have these lines that are going upward. This hill intersects with this hill. And really what all of that is doing is, you look at these element lines, it's pointing to the barn. It's making the person subconsciously focus on the barn. It's not a line, it's not an arrow that's saying, bam, look right there. It's these elements that are giving us these curves and these lines that are all pointing towards our focus area. And those are called leading lines. What else? I mean, the other thing, like super dark, moody cloud. Those clouds are heavy, and they were heavy with rain. And believe me, they opened up and ripped for the rest of our trip up there. But yeah, so that is an image of mine. And I thought I would share that and, kind of talk about photography in general. Being a landscape photographer and pretty successful. I'm in a gallery. That's pretty cool. I've been in a gallery since, about 15 years now. I represented in the gallery. And so I feel like I've got some opinion I can share on it. And I've been published. To get a photo like this can take hundreds, thousands of tries. I could go back and line up that same shot at that same location, and if everything didn't come together, I wouldn't get the photo. And I would have to, I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of luck and imperfection in photography. And how does that tie into AI? Because we're dealing with Midjourney, and Midjourney is imperfect. It is random. We re-roll, this didn't work, that didn't work, we re-roll. It convinces us that this element needs to be in there, and we kind of go with it and there, and, it's a back and forth, and we try to manipulate our prompt to get what we want and do. So there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of gray area. It's traditional artists, it takes a long time to paint a picture, right? So they have to have a really good idea when they start out what they're going to end up with. They need to be confident in their motor skills and being able to draw. They need to be confident in predetermining how their medium is going to work. You can have great motor skills but unless you know how to apply, paint and, we talked about dry brushing. If you need to know how to apply dry brushing and basically predict what it's going to look like before you do it. traditional artists, painters, things like that, are much more precise. They have a plan beforehand. And I'm feeling like AI at the moment, we don't have that plan. There's back and forth and great stuff is being made, but we're negotiating with Midjourney to get there. And sometimes Midjourney offers up great opportunities and we take them, and obviously we get some really cool images. The thing is the intent. Like, we need to be able to have something that can execute our intent. And I think that's, just something. I'm just spitballing here, and it's just I always talk about more and more control, and some people, I get heat because people say, well, if you had control, I like the fact that Midjourney tells me this is what it should be, and that I don't have control, and that it's taking over. And I think that's good to a point, but I really feel we need to be more in control with the images that we are creating. And I'm not cutting on Midjourney right now or AI art. I just, I wanted to kind of have a talk about what's going to make successful AI artists. And I think going over images like this, I think, as you saw, that I renamed my season this year to this season on the channel as Art Intelligence. I think the successful artists they're going to have an art education. They're going to know these different styles, these different errors, these different movements, these different techniques, so that they can describe them to Midjourney and to these AI art generators. I don't know. I'm very interested. I know this sounds crazy because AI is all based on text to image, but text seems really clunky to me. I think it's going to become less and less important. We're always going to need, well, I shouldn't say we're always, who knows? I think we do need it to describe what we want AI to do for us in our artistic creations. But I think we also need to be involved with motor skills. I think things will become gestural. I believe, we've seen the Kriya, where you're drawing and it's creating imagery based on your input and the prompt, and it's building it out that way. I think we're going to start seeing more and more things like that. I don't know. I don't know where things are going to go. And I don't want to do another predictive video, but I do want to talk that right now, I think as AI artists, it's as important to be prompting as it is to be absorbing as much art education as possible, and really, diving in. And, I think I've got books and books of watercolor, Rael, Annie Leibovitz, right there. It's just art books and composition, and look, right behind me, I have this massive book. It's in this thing. I should go through this one day with you guys. Ansel Adams. I love this stuff. I love, and I have art history books and stuff somewhere around. And believe me, I've taken tons of art history classes through college and my graduate work, and I wasn't really, it sunk in and I did well, but I wasn't passionate about it until later, and I knew the value of that. And I just want to say, I think to be successful with AI art, no matter what you're doing, expose yourself to a lot of stuff. Expose yourself to art history. Expose yourself to history in general. And it's not just recreating, because now we have this technology that can blend. I mean, I love using, one of my favorite things if I'm doing graphic design is, mixing mid-century modern golden age illustration with Gothic. And it's really dark. It's so opposite, because mid-century modern was just so optimistic. And then you're mixing it with like Gothic, and it's just it's a cool vibe, and Midjourney does it great. Anyway, this video was really, I wanted to kind of deep dive into actual, I don't want to say actual, but different. I wanted to look at a photograph that wasn't created by AI to kind of tell you that, there's a lot of things that I worked out with this image, but there was a lot of stuff that was haphazard. And it just, for some reason, that kind of strikes a chord right now. Not for some reason, we know the reason. That strikes a chord with AI art and how AI art, has this randomness, and we do have to embrace it. But as you know, I also like control. And we're in this weird place. Are we pushing for perfection? Is that what it is? Anyway, I wanted this video to just kind of be an open dialogue. Like, hey, what's going on, and how do you guys feel about this? And, should I keep talking about, what do we call it? Traditional arts? Or anyway, all right, that's it. Let's see how this goes. And okay. Hey, thanks for joining me this week. This was an experiment to see, see if I can make lightning strike with, different ways to talk about art. I'm really inspired by the guys and girls, over on Discord. You should join us over there. I'm trying to really bring AI into the bigger picture of art creation. That's been my goal, is to give legitimacy to AI from the beginning. That's why I started doing these videos. Anyway, if you like this video, like it. If you like me, subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. Comment below. I think there's a lot to talk about with today's video. Tell me your thoughts, whatever it is. And join us on Discord. I'll put the link in below. Hey, buy some of my t-shirts and things are selling. What? I did not think. All right. Well, they're pretty cool. I got to say, they're cool. Down below, I think there's links to them. Go check them out. Buy cups and t-shirts, and I think there's even a teddy bear. All right. I will see you in the next video.